per what we've just discussed, if water is impacted by music and it's impacted by vibratory activity, and it can store that pattern in a beautiful crystalline way or an amorphous, chaotic way, then the next step up is to that simple recognition that our thoughts, our desires, our intentions are electrical vibratory patterns that are, at least, I'm not going to say created, but are initiated by the brain, and that those get transmitted to different parts of our bodies and so forth, right? And when we speak, that is just a vibratory representation of our thoughts. So you put those two things together and you say, well, goodness, why shouldn't I just take a glass of water and speak my intention to it, whatever that is? So if my intention is to heal my body, if my intention is to have more loving thoughts about myself and others, if my intention is to give up drugs or alcohol or change one of my behaviors in a way, then why shouldn't I speak that? Because that is one of those things that we're given that is very powerful. We've always known that our voice is very powerful. And of course, our body knows what our intention is, and it knows our voice pattern because it's part of us. And so you can speak to water and then drink that intention. And that vibratory pattern is picked up by the cells and tissues in your body and can affect profound change in your life. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's
Now,
interesting. As you were speaking, then what came to my mind was, I know there's a fair amount of anecdotal evidence to suggest that if you speak to plants, they tend to grow more.
very much so.
So I was just wondering, is that the same thing? Because obviously plants
It's the
are like us;
same.
they're mainly water as well.
It's the same thing. In fact, when we speak kindly to each other, when we have kind thoughts about each other, we it's a beneficial thing. That's well understood. And with regard to plants, there are all these studies that have been done. In fact, some of which were initiated by a guy called Marcel Vogel. And a little background on him: Vogel was a scientist at IBM and in the early 70s, and responsible for about 50 or more patents that IBM had with regard to recording on disk medium and so forth, the old days of hard drives, the early days of hard drives. And he kind of got bored with that, I guess, or the next step actually in his process was to look at quartz and quartz crystals, and the fact that quartz crystal can hold information because of its structure. And it's also piezoelectric, and it's the basis of quartz is silica, right? So here we're back to silica again, right? And so he fashioned these things called Vogel crystals, and it's an interesting shape of a crystal that has the shape of the Great Pyramid at Giza at one end and a slightly sharper pyramidal structure at the other end. And you can program that crystal with, he calls it unconditional love, divine love, and so forth. And you can use that instrument to either heal yourself by waving it around in a certain pattern, or to heal others. And to this day, there are many people, many healers, naturopaths in the world that use Vogel crystals to heal. And so I think in that same vein, the silica in silica source in our bottled water, which is called crystal source, where you can actually see the silica crystals that have coalesced together. And when you put light into them, they start to dance in a sort of a helical fashion, almost saying, as the cap suggests, speak to me. And the reason for the silica crystals being visible is because they've been programmed vibratorily to coalesce so that you can see them in the bottled version of our water. Why? Because if I say to you, Lee, take a glass of water out of the tap and say to it, I want my gut to heal, you might say, well, Michael, I believe you. You're kind of a believable guy, but, you're going to have that level of disbelief. Like, can this really be true? Right? So you might do it, but you also might have a level of disbelief, right? And whenever you have that level of suspicion or disbelief, then your intention's not as strong. So the thought is that when you can see the silica crystals and you can have an explanation around how silica, along with water, can hold vibratory information, then it helps what I call suspend the disbelief that this can actually work, that you do have this superpower to heal yourself or to maintain your health, whatever it is you want. So, you can sit with that glass of water and, speak your intention to it. And then you drink it and, you're all in or you're more in than you would be if you didn't see the silica crystals. Now, frankly, because I understand this, I've suspended my disbelief. I don't always drink the crystal source water that's got the crystals in it. I drink the regular silica source water and I put intention on it. I go out in my backyard and I say that I'm so grateful for all of this beauty that I have and all that I've been given, and just, express that gratitude and, desire to spread that and to radiate that into my neighborhood and to the rest of the universe.